Hi, welcome back to Outdoor Gear and Skills. As I mentioned in my last video, I'm going on a cruise. I'm actually flying out to Florida tomorrow. And as I was doing my last video on the first aid kit that I put together to take on the cruise, it dawned on me that I didn't have any duct tape in there, which is something I like to have in my first aid kits. I do have it in my backpack. I'll have some with me, but I want it specifically in the first aid kit so that it's just there. And one of the things I started doing many years ago before it showed up in stores is wrapping duct tape around popsicle sticks. And I'm able to put two sections around it, so it's got quite a bit of duct tape on there. When you're traveling or just in your vehicle, you know, you're not carrying a big, bulky, heavy roll of duct tape with you, but you've got plenty right there. And so I just wanted to show you how I do that. Now, one thing is that I noticed these bigger, I think they use them for waxing sticks, that kind of thing. I was wondering if I could get 3 sections on, but I can't. If you see it's gonna come up short, and I don't want to put them so close that they're kind of overlapping, so that's really not going to work. At most you'd be able to get 2, which means you're just going to have, you know, wasted stick space like that. So I'd prefer just to keep it on a popsicle stick. So that's awesome. So when I do this, I just put the duct tape right there. I personally start on the left, and I just position it so that it overlaps just a little bit, and you can see it's pretty close to the edge. I have it overlap just a little bit so I can bend it down, and then now I'm just going to roll that on itself. And if I feel like it's starting to go off, I just kind of crank the popsicle stick a little bit so that I can keep it as uniformly wrapped as possible so I don't have overhang. And so as I continue to do this, I've never really measured how long I do this, but I do it in one continuous section so that I could just rip off whatever I need. So I don't count the number of times I'm folding it over or anything. I just, keep going until I feel like, that's about right where I want it to be. So there, I'm starting to go just a little bit off to the side. So I crank it back. Now I crank it back the other way. Looking at it, that's how much duct tape I have there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and rip that off. I do try to rip it off enough that when I roll it over and I misjudged it on there, I prefer to have it end on the flat spot instead of on the end right there. It's not a big deal, but then it just isn't as likely to catch and kind of start rolling back. Now I just flip it over the other side. So when I pull these off, I'm gonna have them go in opposite directions. So again, I just flip that over like that, and I start rolling. So I started carrying duct tape back in the mid 90s when I moved to Utah, and I started mountain biking down in Moab, and that was way before we were going to Grand Junction, Colorado, or St. George. And so we were going down to Moab because it was only about 3 hours from where I lived. And great mountain biking. It's much better now. They have a lot more trails and things now. But one of the reasons I carried duct tape, and it'd be kind of gross and not the best, but if I crashed, if I got cut open, my arm, my leg, whatever, I could throw a bandage on and duct tape it and just try to control the bleeding and everything. If I don't have a bandage, or it's just I can't do that, worst case, I could try to just bandage myself and then deal with it when I get to the hospital. And so this is way before Aaron Ralston and Rockin' a Hard Place. you know, kind of thing, but it is remote out there, and just trying to have something, you know, that can help if you are getting, you know, if you're just out there. I mean, who knows what I've duct taped backpacks, things like that. You know, you can duct tape in kind of a first aid kit, but essentially, you know, that's what you're looking at. Got a little bit of space there, but that is quite a bit of duct tape. And so in having that, I'm going to do another one, but in having the duct tape like that, it just gives me a good amount. It's easy. Literally, I could carry it in the pocket of a jacket or something if I wanted to. You know, it's very easy. Now, one thing you want to do is if you are keeping this in, you know, backpack or vehicle, for example, you want to keep it out of the sunlight because it will warp it. The direct sunlight, heat too, but especially direct sunlight can warp it and mess with the adhesive on the tape so that it just won't stick anymore. And I have had some of these so long that the tape has just kind of failed and I've had to just throw it out. But duct tape's not terribly expensive, and it's kind of like, you know, just it's just having, you know, something out there kind of, you know, in case I need it. Hopefully I don't, but in case I do, it's one of those things that I just want to have there. So when I have to throw away one of these because it's just gotten so old and either the tape won't pull off, it's almost like it molds together, I don't consider that a big loss. So I also do this with Gorilla Tape. The thing about Gorilla Tape is it's got a much stronger adhesive than most duct tapes do. It's, you know, it's harder to tear, so it's got a, I don't know if you would call that tensile strength or what you would call that, but it's really good. We came across this many years ago when my dad was at Home Depot and he was looking for some kind of tape that they could put down on the ground, on the floor of, not the ground, but the floor of a warehouse, and have pallet jacks and that kind of stuff roll over it and not tear it up. And the guy at Home Depot turned my dad onto Gorilla Tape. So I use Gorilla Tape and I use Gorilla Glue a lot. Sometimes I'll go half and half. So I've got one of both. So I might do that here, but just a good way to have something close by, you know, that could be there. We joke a lot about being able to fix everything with duct tape and bale wire. So that'll fit really nicely into the first aid kit. Just give me some fresh tape to throw in my bags and have with me. So I'd love to hear if anyone out there, you know, if you guys are doing that, if you know, use something else, do anything similar to that. As always, thanks for watching Outdoor Gear and Skills, and we'll see you out there.